Hello again, everybody. Continuing our tutorials about Toyotas, Lexus, and Camrys, which are very complex vehicles. If I have a problem with the fuel pump and I want to understand and try to analyze how to troubleshoot it, on the schematic dealing with it, where would I start? Where is the starting point? As I said before, you focus on main components. So out of all this schematic that I have it in front of me, I'm going to look for something that's associated with fuel pump. Now, as you see over here, this part of the section on the left hand side has to do with fuses, relays, and basically it is the B plus, and that's why I put in dotted lines over here separating this section of B plus. So that's not really going to help me right now because I have to find something, a fuel pump. If I come over here, I'm looking for main components. I look at something called Datalink Connectors and junction connectors. That really doesn't have anything to do with my problem with fuel pumps, because those are just to plug in the scanners and they give you all the data. Those are in charge of communications to all the modules and codes. So when I come over here, I see a relay. Over here I see a fuel pump. Great. But I also see other things over here, connections over here. I see connections, and these are connections where, when the wiring is very long, or it continues in another page, we denote it by putting letters. So if you need A, B, C, or you need H, I, J, this will be continued on the next page, as you see over here. If I need A, I go to A and I continue along here. If I need H, I continue along here. So these bring me to something called the engine control module. Right now, we're dealing with the fuel pump. So we're going to stick to that problem that I have. Over here, again, is the fuel pump. So right now, I'm going to start from this point. Not this point yet, and nothing over here for sure. But I'm going to keep this in my mind that this left side has to do with the power, the B plus, the voltage. Fine. Now, this is the fuel pump, the symbol for fuel pump. One side of it goes to, the pin 5 goes to ground. I know I need 12 volts, right? I turn on the car in the morning. I don't hear the relay clicking to the fuel pump. I don't hear the fuel pressure rising. I have to work, in this case, backward to see how it's being fed. In most cases, you start probably from here if you know what part of the schematic you're dealing with. I go forward and this way. However, now we have to backtrack. That's the difficult part, but that's the only way to do it. We have to backtrack and say, okay, I need 12 volts because we have ground. Okay? I go back up here, up here, up here. I'm paying attention to main components. I'm not worrying about the wires and what's they're called and all that. This is a connection. I come up here and say, okay, this is a relay. This relay has to be closed for me to get current flowing or to get the 12 volts. So far we're in the right track. We come over here, right? We have two paths, actually. One path will feed the coil. As you remember, I do need the coil first to be magnetized to close this switch. But right now we just want to find the 12 volts. So we're going to come over here. Obviously this path did not lead me to the 12 volts. I'm going to look for something, fuses or relay, that has to do with 12 volts, because that's usually where it comes through the battery. So I'm continuing in this path, the green one. Coming over here, there's no connection over here. There's no connection over here. I come back over here, right? Now, I have, again, two possible paths to take. So when I take this, let's take this path. I come down here, I follow it. Where does it go to? It goes to this. And where does this go to? If you follow it, it goes to, again, engine control module. Well, I'm looking for a B plus. I'm looking for 12 volts. So I don't think that 12 volts would come from an engine control module. So what do? I take the other path. Okay? We went down here. We says this goes to the computer, engine control module. So that's not going to help me. Let's continue the other path. This takes me to EFI, electronic fuel injection relay. Therefore, if this is closed, there's a connection from here to here, connection from here to here. Again, I follow it, no connection here, this is not connected. Follow it here. Again, now I have another path to go here, here. And where does it take me to? Again, the computer. So that must not be the right path. Why? Because I need somewhere a 12-volt line. So, let's take the other path. We went up here. We said it goes to the computer. Let's find the other path. Here's a fuse. Okay, that makes sense. We're in the right place because the B plus will go through a fuse. So let's continue along this path. Continue here. Continue here. Continue here, and here it is, fusible link, right? Here's the battery. So here, going here, 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 through the fuse, through the switch when the relay is activated, over here, here, back through another switch of a second relay. One relay, through another relay, and that gives me the 12 volts. So you see how we did that? We had to backtrack. When you come to 2 paths or 3 paths, you try a path. And you see where it leads you to. In this regard, in this situation, I know I need a 12 volts. And remember I spoke to you before and I said, well, the left side has to do with this. Has to do with the supply, with the B plus supply. So therefore, I'm going to continue, in this case, going to this side of the schematic. If it brings me to this part, that means it's going to the computer, right? So therefore, we made it over here, follow the green, we came back here. Now, let's get a little more sophisticated. We know we said this over here, that in order for this to be closed, which we need this to be magnetized. The relay, the coil to be magnetized. This has to get 12 volts of current flowing in it also. Question, where does the current flow for this? Where does it come from? Well, let's look along the line, right? We already did this part. Let's flow over here, right? Flow over here, 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 here. Therefore, if you look at the green, guess what? That same 12 volts that is feeding this switch also is feeding this. The coil, the control side, the control circuit. So that's not bad. That's pretty easy. Therefore, this 12 volts, the same volts feeding this, is also feeding this. First current flows here, magnetizing this, activating this, then this will close. Boom, there's my 12 volts. Fine. We just figured out how this relay works through this fuse, through a relay, second relay, fuse, fusible link. Fine. Guess what? So we answered our question. We know how this gets his current or the voltage. Fine. It came from here. Where now in the same concept occurs. This switch has to be closed. In order for that to happen, guess what? We need this to be activated also. Now, where does this get the 12 volts, or where does it get the current flowing through it? Right? We're backtracking. We go this way. This is ground. That's not the 12 volts. So I know this is not the right path to find the 12 volts. Let's go this way. Right? We have here 2 paths, as you see. Path here, a path over here, right? And then we have a path over here. Let's go and continue. Let's start this one. It's trial and error. That's all it is. If one path doesn't help me, I try the other path. I go over here, it goes through a connector, right? I can go this way, on top this way, or I can go this way. Here's the connector. Let's try this way. It goes through another relay. This is air fuel heater. Does that help me? No, not really, because I'm looking for a B+. Chances are it's not going to go through another relay, especially that has to do airflow heater. So what did we say? Let's continue. It's not this path. Let's continue the other path, right? The other path again goes to the computer board. That's not going to help me. I don't think it's there. I'm going to focus on the left side. And that's why I stressed in the very beginning, the left side is for the power, the B+. So therefore, I have to try to get a path that will bring me to this side. I went over here and went over here. Right away I know, no, that's not the B+. Because I glanced at it quickly in the very beginning of the video. If you remember, and I mentioned it, this side is the B+. So if I go to this side, it won't do me the B+. So therefore, as you see over here, right, we said this path goes to this relay. That's not going to help me. We're going to go up here. That's not going to help me. It goes back to the computer. What are we left with? We're left with this path. This path, come over here, right? Let's try this path. You have two paths again. This path goes to, again, computer board, engine control module. That's not going to help me. I come back over here. Let's start, a fuse. Okay, that makes sense. This must be the correct path. Why? Because the fuse will lead me to the B+. Come back over here. Come back over here. Again, another path. I look right away and look at the line going. Computer board. Nope. That's not going to help me. I continue along this. Ignition switch. Yes, that could be a part of it. Why? You have to turn on the ignition to turn on the pressure for fuel pressure to the fuel pump. So this must be the right one. Now I go through this. This is closed. These are both closed. See, they're ganged together by the dotted line. But right now, I'm not concerned about the top one. I'm concerned about the bottom one. I come over here. A fuse. A fuse. Okay. Fuses lead me to B+. Come back over here. Come back over here. Here it is. Right here. So 1 and 2. 1 and 2 means there's two paths. As you can see, one path led me to, remember the green one we started with? Led me to the fuel pump. The other path leads me to, through the ignition switch, which makes sense. We have to crank the car. We have to turn the switch. Through this fuse, through this, right? Through this, watch the path, through this primary, through this coil. That's why it's called EFI. Through this, that's going to ground. Now, when we came over here, right, we also go over here to this, and to this we tried, right? So basically, when we came over here to this relay, we started through the ignition switch, through here, right, all the way over here, giving this current. This gave this current. This activated this. Right? And this started this relay. We know how this relay started. We weren't sure about this. Well, it came from here, through this fuse, through this path, igniting this coil, right? Activating this coil, creating a magnetic field. This allowed the green to go here to the fuel pump. So therefore, again, confusing. Our first thought when we started was fuel pump, right? We came across here and said, okay, the main component I'm dealing with, the problem that I have is a fuel pump. I know there's a relay, I know there's B+. We started working on this side is the B+. I looked at glance quickly. I look at it. All this has to do with the power, the voltage. This part of it has to do going to the computer. See, engine control module, which is the computer. That really doesn't have to do anything with me right now. To the fuel pump. It does turn on the fuel pump to give a ground, but for now we're dealing with 12 volts. I need 12 volts to see where it's coming from. I started back here. The switch is closed, right? Came back over here. This switch also is closed. Came back here, and here. So now I know where I get my current, my 12 volts. How do I know I have 12 volts here? How do I know? It's going through switches. You don't lose any voltage through switches or through fuses. Now we worked, when we found out what gave us the 12 volts, what activated the relay? Well, we came back to this and said, okay, the same path that gave us through this switch gave us also through the coil. That brought us to this one over here. This one was closed. What activated this to close? This coil. Where did this coil get the 12 volts from? We backtracked and said, okay, we're not going to go to this side of the schematic that, again, leads us to engine control module of the computer. We need a B+. We went through here, through the ignition switch, and through here. So this is common. This fusible link is common both to 1 and 2, which is the relay and the fuel pump. The relay, these two relays and the fuel pump. Okay? This fuse only has to do with one relay, a second relay. This fuse has to do with the ignition switch and a different fuse, going to this to activate this. Very complicated, very complicated. Now you're asking yourself the question, well, why couldn't I start again from the battery? Well, go ahead and do that. Try that. I'm going to go here. I'm going to go here, go here, go here, come back here, data link. That has nothing to do with my problem. Let's try this path. Go here, go here, go here, go here, go here. When this is closed, go here, go here. What is that again? Computer. That's not good. See how much time I'm wasting? Finding just the fuel pump, if it's where the fuel pump is. Now let me go this way. This here, here, here. If this is closed, come back over here, here, here's a fuse. There's a light. That's nothing to do. Where does the other side of the light go to? Again, this is, see the green arrow? Green arrow brings me again to the engine. Has nothing to do with a fuel pump. You see how you're wasting time? Just right away, look for the symbol for the component that you're troubled with. Fuel pump. Boom. Come up here. Come up here. I know this is closed. I'm not going to deal with how this was activated until first I find the 12 volts going in here and here. So you have to backtrack. You don't always go forward in a schematic. You have to go back, side, up, down, all over. All over. It's a roadmap. Okay, let's say I was looking for a bulb, right? Malfunction indicator lamp, right? And malfunction indicator lamp, that's obviously if you have a check engine light or something like that, because there's a code in your, what's it called, in the PCM, in the computer, or engine control module, there's a code, a hard code. Maybe you have a misfire, so you'll get a code. The Datalink Connector, which is under the steering wheel, you'll put a scanner there, whichever you use, and it'll tell you the code, and it'll tell you, okay, oxygen sensor, mass airflow sensor, camshaft sensor, crankshaft sensor, whatever it'll tell you. Or so therefore, if I'm looking for the bulb, if I go in over here, right, let's say my malfunction indicator lamp is on the dashboard. I know there's a check engine light. Am I going to go over here? No, not really. It has nothing to do with it. Am I going to go over here? Not really. Am I going to go over here? Yes. That's the light. Now I see what's feeding it. It is being fed by the top one over here and over here. Fine. That makes it light. What's the code? There is a malfunction. That means there might be like we said, might be a rich condition, a lean condition, might be a misfire on one of the cylinders. All this is telling me that this is going to the computer to light this, to tell me it's a malfunction. But I'm dealing with the part of the component that I have the problem with. Let's say I have a problem with, I believe, like if you come over here, let's say, right? Here's the injectors. How many cylinders are there? Look at the injectors. 1, 2, 3, 6. That means there's 6 cylinders. Let's say I have a misfire. Injector number 4. Right? I come to this schematic. Right? I look around. I browse around. I see, okay, I see sensor, idle air control valve. I a vapor for evap. I see airflow ratio sensor. I'm looking for an injector. I have a problem with a fuel injector. I believe. Airflow ratio sensor. These are all sensors. Oxygen sensors over here. Heater, oxygen sensor. Heater, oxygen sensor. So these are our inputs, as I made so many videos. And these are inputs, but it's not dealing with the injector. I need an injector. I come back to the other side, right? B+, relays, fuel pump, junction connector. I don't find any injectors. Let me come back over here. Okay. I come back over here. I check all the inputs. I look at the symbols and components. Boom. I come back to this. Now, okay, injector number 4. One input goes to engine control mod, the computer, and the other one goes to, guess where? Back to the B+ supply. So, instead of me going all over and just tracing wires for no reason, I come to the component that I'm looking for, and I trace it back. So in other words, it seems like if I have a problem or misfire here, right, I come back to this. One side goes to the engine control mod. That means this is controlling the fuel injector. It's toggling the ground of it. And the other side of it goes to B+. Another hint that it's all that the top is going to B+ because they're all connected together. When you see all of them connected together, that means there's a common line, and a common line usually means B+. If you go all the way, you'll see it. Comments B+, right? If I would continue it, go along A, B, C, I'll come over here to C, the third line. Here it is, through the fuse, through the ignition switch, and through this, right? My main point is, don't waste time going all over all the schematic. Focus on if I have a problem with the oxygen sensor, guess where I'm going to go? Oxygen sensor. And then I'll look, well, this is an input. This is an input to the heater. You have to heat it up first, obviously, right?